Hello and welcome back to another episode. Kyle, what the hell happened to your Patriots?
We stink. That was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're going right off the bat. That
Yeah,
hurt.
I mean, what else do we have to talk about?
Yeah. So this, oh my gosh, this had to be. I think this is the worst loss of Bill Belichick's Patriots tenure.
Wow, that's worst as in how? Because obviously losing a Super Bowl is more
Yeah.
impactful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess outside of like not blitzing Nick Foles at all in the Super Bowl and benching Malcolm Butler, that was bad. I think this
Uh-huh.
was his worst coaching performance I've ever seen. I thought some of the decision making in this was weird. I thought the two quarterback thing that apparently only the quarterbacks knew about the two quarterback setup and nobody else on the roster knew about happening. I thought that
Uh-huh.
was weird. I thought the decision to play a lot of zone coverage against these Bears receivers who aren't very good seemed weird. And I just thought the whole setup of this game was stupid and the Bears took advantage. The Bears also made some adjustments and played well, but one team looked ready to play Monday night and it was not New England.
Yeah, Kyle, this was shocking. I mean, I was keeping half an eye on the game live. I went back and watched it the next day, and I was like, okay, they got off to a slow start. They started to get rolling a little bit. Then there was a quarterback controversy, and it felt like it wasn't even a controversy anymore. It was Bailey Zappi time until it wasn't.
Yeah, until it wasn't. And he couldn't move the ball. We couldn't get any movement going. And then not to mention we couldn't get stops. I mean, what the Bears did on third down in this game was just insane. I mean, I don't even have the numbers in front of me. It was let me see if I got it here. Great podcasting. 11 of 18 on third downs. 11
uh, yeah, not great.
Yeah. And so I don't know. We got stuck in mobile quarterbacks have become a problem for us. And it's
Uh-huh.
not just, this is a recipe for disaster, basically for the Patriots. And naturally, they, got to play Josh Allen twice. They have Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in their conference. So this is going to go well for the next decade. But,
Right.
I think the problem is that, we're stuck in this zone defense because we can't man up and cover a mobile quarterback. And then we also have these linebackers who we can't play main defense because we can't spy because Juwan Bentley and Jelani Tavai are way too slow to do anything. They can't cover these quarterbacks in a mobile setting. So it was just a complete disaster in that regard. I thought the defense was a mess. And then, I mean, it wasn't even just that, too. It's like, I thought Chicago did a really good job of setting up design runs, which is something they hadn't really done in the past. And there was just plays where Chicago was moving guys backwards. And this has been graded out as one of the worst offensive lines in football for basically the entire season. And they bullied the Patriots in this game. They bullied New England at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, one thing that we talked about, here's the concerning thing to me, is we talked about heading into this game, okay, this could be a game where the Patriots run all over the Bears. The Bears' run defense has not been great. Ramondre Stevenson, 3.5 yards per carry. Damian Harris, 2.7 yards per carry. That's on 14 combined carries with those guys. Mac Jones had 8 yards per carry, so I guess you have that going for you. What happened with this? Why couldn't they get anything going in the running game?
Um, I don't know, because it's predictable, because it seems like every time it's 1st and 10, we're handing the ball off. And then every time it's 3rd and short, we're also handing the ball off, and everyone is just prepared for it. It just seemed like that they had kind of our numbers set up. I think we need to be able to mix up this offense more. Our offense is good when it's unpredictable. And right now, on Monday night, it looked really predictable.
I was so ready for the Patriots to take over. I was so ready for this team to be a legitimate threat. And right now, I mean, maybe it's just a blip. It does happen. How are you feeling? You're a Patriots fan. Is this a blip, or could this Patriots team be a playoff team?
I would say right now it doesn't look like one. I don't know. I got excited about this team too, how they played the last couple weeks. And it wasn't, Detroit and Cleveland aren't very good football teams. But I
Hmm.
thought what the defense did in those 2 weeks, two really good offenses, was promising. I thought it was really promising what they were able to do. But I think that's kind of negated by what this defense did against this team. So, I mean, we're definitely not a tier one AFC team. We're not at that level because we just don't have the star talent. And right now, I would say we're not a tier two AFC team. So I would say right now we're out of the playoffs. Um, I think we have some glaring holes in this team that I think are just going to be a problem. I don't expect us to beat Buffalo at all because we can't contain Josh Allen. And then I just think that there's some teams who are going to carve us up with this sort of setup.
They play the Jets next week. That should be an interesting game. Let's talk about next week now. Kyle, you made up a little bit of ground in the show. I mean, 5 point. If this game went differently, if the Patriots beat the Bears, maybe it'd be a little bit closer. But only 5 points back at this point.
Yeah, it was a pretty good week. Hang on, I got to challenge you here. I thought I had 2 points last week.
How many did I give you? I gave you.
I thought I was at 27, or actually, I should have had 1 point last week, right? Because I got 2 games wrong, but I got my lock right.
Okay, it's possible I didn't. Here, I'll go back and appreciate you calling me out. I've already deleted it, but I can go back and watch the last podcast, and we can. I'll figure that out. We'll see if the challenge upholds or not off show.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if the Patriots had won, it would have been a really good week for me. And then I had that stupid Packers thing too. So like, I felt like I was on the wrong side of both of those things, and then the 2 teams shit the bed. So it happens. But better week for me, so I feel good.
Yeah, we have a Cardinals fan saying Cardinals Super Bowl baby, D-Hop best team in the NFL. So, got some, people excited about their team still 7 weeks into the season. Let's just get. Or
Yeah,
Kyle, how are you?
You might want to be off the drugs there, man.
Okay,
No.
Kyle, not expecting that. Kyle, how's it going? I didn't ask you at the beginning of the show because of the intro.
Things are going pretty good. Things are good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. All right, I guess I didn't have to. Let's just get back to football.
What's that?
I guess I didn't have to ask you how you go. We could have just gotten back to football.
Yeah, Monday night was kind of a bummer. We're surviving and advancing though. We're okay. We're gonna
Right.
bounce back this week. I feel it.
I don't think surviving and advancing applies here, but that's okay. Let's get into the
Does
picks.
for me.
Okay. Yes, I guess so. You survived and advanced. Let's see who survives this week of picks without looking too stupid. Because we're always gonna look a little stupid.
Yeah, that's our bread and butter. So picks are getting better. We'll see how they continue to adjust. I'm feeling this is a tough week. I gotta say, this is a pretty tough week that we're looking at. I think that there's some challenging games here.
I have to say, great slate. I think this is a lot of interesting games and a lot of games that are 1.5 points, 3 points, 4.5 points. Like that's a big spread. There's a lot of really fast, really exciting games coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones, and then the Steelers are going to lose to the Eagles by 20. So besides that, everything else is good.
Oh, you're feeling optimistic about their chances. Let's get into the picks. Kyle, give me a game.
Yeah, this strategy worked for me last week. Let's stick with it. And I don't really want to pick against this team right now, because it has Tom Brady. So Bucks at Ravens Thursday night. Who you going with?
Yep, that's I'll be in the crowd. I considered locking this up on the Ravens just so that way I could have like either I'm happy I get my lock right or I'm happy that the Buccaneers finally look good. I'm picking the Ravens to win. I am. They're 1.5 point favorites, which it's so fascinating about Tampa Bay because part of me wants to be like, they just lost to 2 of the worst teams in football. How can we sit here and say that this is a competitive team? But at the same time, their defense still is very good. I know that the defense has had some missteps. Listen, there's no defense in today's NFL that's going to just play shutdown defense every drive. You're going to have some mishaps. As a whole, the defense has been very good. I'm interested in seeing how it will defend against Lamar Jackson, who, it's a different animal going up against this Baltimore team. I think they should cover well. I'm just fascinated seeing what exactly they do there. But I just don't trust this Buccaneers offense. How could you trust this Buccaneers offense? At this point, people are bringing up the name brand receivers that they have, but like Chris Godwin hasn't looked great since coming back from the injury. Mike Evans had a really bad day. Their PFF grades are around mediocre, middle of the pack this season. So the receiving core, which is usually one of the best in football, has been not a weakness, but just kind of fine. Brady hasn't been a huge strength, and the offensive line has at times looked terrible. So, and also, they have the worst running game in football, despite the fact that they seemingly are committed to stick with the running game. So the Ravens know what they do better. The Ravens are a smarter team. I'm picking Baltimore to win.
I think a lot of that makes sense. I'm worried a little bit about the speed of this Tampa Bay defense. Again, what Lamar Jackson does really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see how that works out. And then not to mention, like, I don't think it's the biggest deal against Baltimore per se, because Baltimore just does things differently. But you're looking at, I think at last I saw, let's pull it up here. Winfield, Sean Murphy, Bunting, Carlton Davis, all out. Luka Decky's out, so that might help. But
Right.
those three guys are all out in the secondary. How does this team hold up defensively? How does the speed on the line of scrimmage hold up against Lamar Jackson? I think those are all very real questions that I think Tampa Bay is going to have to answer. That being said, like, if Tampa Bay finally puts up 35 in a game and all of a sudden rolls, are you going to be shocked? Like, I wouldn't be shocked at this point that they're able to turn it on and come back.
No, it feels like that's the expectation every week. It's like, okay, here we go. Like, I was so ready for the, when there was that wide open Mike Evans drop in early in the Panthers game, like, okay, that was a drop, but like, here we go. We're going to see the Buccaneers again. Also, we have a super chat. Overlap 618, the great Overlap 618 back in the chat. Okay, now that I have officially lost all my money after Kyle's lock on the Patriots beating the Bears. But no, seriously, this stream is great. Thank you, Overlap. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I didn't lock up the Patriots. I was just really confident.
Yeah. You locked them up not on paper, but in spirit.
Yeah, didn't work out for me.
Right. Yeah, no. To me, the biggest key to this game for the Buccaneers is Levante David and Devin White. If they're going to win, it feels like that's, Devin White, he makes me pull my hair out at times, but this is the game that you like to have him of a linebacker who can run, up. He can't keep up with Lamar, but he can get pretty close. And obviously, we know what Levante David can do. So having those two guys should help in the running game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good setup, and theoretically, that should be that should be kind of the success. The group being able to limit Lamar's effectiveness. Not to mention that defensive line, I think is still very good. It's going to be interesting to see that matchup, and then it's just going to come down to on the other side, this Ravens secondary. I mean, Marlon Humphrey's having a bit of a bounce back year, but I would still say this Ravens secondary has looked kind of leaky the past couple weeks. Can Tampa Bay find stuff downfield? I mean, they've been willing to throw the ball this season. Can they make it happen?
Yeah, and what I'm interested about as well is, could this maybe be, in a weird way, exactly what the Buccaneers need right now? Of a team like the Ravens who will blitz a lot, who will give you one-on-one matchups on the outside. Maybe that's what they need to just sort of force the Buccaneers to have to throw it down the field and put the ball in the area of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, you got to use those guys more. You got to use them more. That's the biggest thing. Evans is still heavily involved in the offense. Obviously, I thought, the drop was bad and it wasn't his best game, like you said, but I think he's due for a bounce back game. Like I think Tampa could still win this game and get back into the playoff hunt. I mean, they're still winning their division, so I guess I shouldn't say back in the playoff hunt. But I do think they can win this game, but with the way things are going, I don't think it's going to go well right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think they only lost, I can't remember if they lost 3 or 4 games last year, so they're already at 4 losses this year. So, need to turn it around. And I will be in attendance, so let's hope that, for my sake, that things go well. You gave me my team, so I think it's only fair to return the favor. Just like you don't want to pick the Bucs, I don't want to pick the Patriots right now or the Jets, so I'm giving it to you.
I feel like I'm going to look so stupid for this.
Okay.
Give me the Patriots in this one. There's no way Zach Wilson does what Justin Fields did last week. Like, he can't move like Justin Fields, first of all, so it's not quite the same matchup. But I just feel like if they're going to drop back 20 times with Justin Fields, without Breece Hall out there, I'm not really worried about the home run running play. They might be able to get a couple big plays in the running game, but I don't think it's going to be quite the same with James Robinson or Michael Carter back there, who I think are solid backs, but not great. And then the back thing, I just think that if they're going to have to drop back and throw the ball a few times with Zach Wilson, I think this Patriots secondary is going to take advantage. I think this is the kind of game that Bill Belichick kind of relishes, where he can kind of confuse the quarterback, the young quarterback, make him make some mistakes, and I think that's going to happen in this game.
Yeah, we all remember the meltdown at the Meadowlands last year, where he just was seemingly throwing an interception every single drive. He couldn't stop throwing interceptions. Zach Wilson couldn't. So I could certainly see that. I think the flip side though is, this Patriots team, I don't trust that much to be able to move the ball too well against the Jets either. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game.
I think it is too. I think it's going to be really close. It sounds like now Mac Jones is the full-time starter. They got full confidence in him. So let's see if he can bounce back and kind of get back to what we saw last year, because that's really what we just need. We just need Mac Jones from last season to come back. We don't need anything better right now. Let's just stabilize the quarterback position. And I think this running game is going to be a lot more involved and a lot better this week. I think we're going to see some different things. I want to see Tyquan Thornton more involved, especially, using him in jet sweep actions, those sort of things. I want to see different things out of this team because I can tell you right now, what they're not going to do is look at these cornerbacks and challenge them one-on-one on the outside.
Right.
Devontae Parker, they might take a shot just because that's what Devontae Parker does really well. But I don't see them consistently going to Parker one-on-one on the outside against these guys.
Yeah,
Maybe
especially
Parker
not if
wins
he's
a ball. Yeah.
especially not if he's against Sauce Gardner. Like that's not a chance I want to take.
No, I wouldn't right now. I mean, I
Mhm.
still think Parker, he's one of those guys that's really good. Just it seems like any corner he can go up and win a 50-50 ball, but I just
Mhm.
don't want to trust it consistently. I would say, pick a chance to take a shot. Don't do it consistently. I think the Patriots play a lot smarter this week and kind of have, well, hopefully, my hope is that this Monday night game is going to be kind of the wake up call they needed.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, interested in seeing the Jets, bit of a new look team now. Obviously with the running back injury now going with James Robinson. I imagine it's going to be Michael Carter who gets the bulk of the carries since Robinson's kind of new here. But you know, I think it's an interesting game. I think that this is there's something about this game of like, the Jets are definitely the Patriots' little brother. They desperately want to win, and the Patriots desperately don't want to, lose to the little brother. So I think that there's that intrigue as well. It's going to be in New York. The Jets would love to win this game.
Yeah. A couple of interesting things about the Jets. So in 7 games, Zach Wilson has 4 games. Joe Flacco has 3 games.
Hmm.
I don't think they really wanted to do that offensively in the first couple of weeks with Joe Flacco. But Joe Flacco has 54 more pass attempts still, despite 1 less game
Uh-huh.
than Zach Wilson. And he has a better completion percentage, more touchdowns. I just think that, do Wilson because the thing is like Bill Belichick is kind of still the coach that I think if you don't trust your quarterback, he's going to snuff that out and make you feel bad about it. Because I think that it's a real question at this point. How much faith are they going to put in him to make some big time throws in this game? Because I think without Hall, he's going to have to make some big time throws.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's going to have to play better. And, he started off hot coming back from the injury, but has kind of cooled off a bit. He's currently Pro Football Focus's 31st rated quarterback, Flacco 34th, so 3 spots lower. Also, a big part of why Joe Flacco had to throw so much was just they were down so much. And I mean, just you have an elite quarterback, you put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a guy
Mhm.
like Joe Flacco, he should come back in right now. No.
Yes. Also, again, great overlap 618. Please, God, hurry and release all of Kyle's picks so I can fade them all and collect my money and get back to my house. Listen, Kyle did better than me last week. So, I appreciate you bashing him because I find it funny. But
Yeah, I was 5-2 last week. Fade all of Jackson's picks. That's okay.
yeah, it might go better for you. We just want to make sure you have more money overlap. We want to make sure you're doing all right.
Put the house on Tampa Bay. That's what the lesson is. Bet everything you
Probably.
can on Tampa Bay, the most stable team in football right now.
For legal reasons, that was a joke. Yeah, let's move on. Why don't we? Spent a while on that one. That was a interesting game to talk about. Kyle, give me a game.
Another game I don't really want to pick. Let's go to London. Another one. London is weird, just like Thursday is weird. I'm sticking with a theme here. Broncos at Jaguars.
Yeah, makes sense. This is next on my list as well. You're right. London games are always weird. I can't pick against Jacksonville in London. Come on. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars who, playing in their home away from home. I don't know. Uh, this game just gross a little bit. These are two teams that at one point had very high expectations this year. Broncos before the seasons, Jaguars a little bit into the season. Both have really been reeling. I don't know. It feels crazy. I think I do trust the Jaguars offense a little bit more than the Broncos defense. Or excuse me, I don't trust it more than the Broncos defense, but I trust it more than the Broncos offense. I also think I do trust the Broncos defense a little bit more than the Jaguars defense. But I just feel like as of right now, these are two teams that aren't playing very well. But I do kind of trust the Jaguars a little bit more to come up with a better game plan, perhaps, to beat the Broncos than the other way around.
Yeah. You're betting against the guy with Wolverine blood right now? That's shocking.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, you know what's so funny though? I was looking at it. So, you've been on the NFL EPA website where they do the offense tab, defense tab, quarterbacks tab, and then they have the team tiers tab.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville is still in the elite teams tier by EPA. Like,
Uh-huh.
this team still grades out exceptionally well, which obviously I think the eye test can correct a little bit of that. I think the defense started red hot and it's since cooled a little bit, but I still think it's a pretty good defense. I still think it's going to be tough to throw on. And this is another team where, like, we saw, you could, with Javonte Williams in the lineup, you at least saw Denver move the ball a little bit. And I feel like since he's been out, they can't even move the ball. Like, I feel like it's a completely different. It's somehow gotten worse over the last few weeks without him.
Right.
So I think that's a huge problem. I think they're going to have tough time throwing the ball downfield on this Jacksonville defense. And I could see a situation where Jacksonville wins this. That being said, it could be one of those things too where Denver's defense is the best unit in this game. Bless you.
Sorry.
Denver's defense is the best unit in this game, and it kind of takes over and win this. But we've been saying that for the Broncos for like the last 3 weeks, and it hasn't happened. So I don't know what to think of that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because what was Russell Wilson's calling card all those years in Seattle? He is the guy who he might not be the best quarterback in quarters 1 through 3, but you better believe if it's a close game, he's winning you the game. That's been always his thing, and that really hasn't happened with this Denver team. So I don't know. I could see a scenario where Denver finds a way to pull this one off. I don't feel great either way about this game, but like I don't know. What did you think of the getting rid of James Robinson move by the Jaguars?
I thought it was a little weird, but based on his comments after the game, it seemed like that it was time to move on because it seems like they just wanted an excuse to go to ETN, honestly.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I get it. ETN's explosive and he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a use for James Robinson in the league, and I think there's always a use for having multiple running backs. But I think they like Agnew too, so I think that they can kind of use different guys in the backfield. I don't think it's that big of a deal that they let him go. Maybe it was just surplus at the position.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps it was fascinating. Which receiving core do you like better in this one? It feels like a push to me.
Push. I'd probably lean Denver. Sutton's at least shown us that I think Sutton can still be pretty good on the right day. I don't think he's great, but I think he's the best of this group. And I might put Judy ahead of Kirk too. So I would still put Sutton number 1 though.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that's fair. All right. Yeah. Anything else to add to this one?
No, I think we just about covered it. Jaguars, the official team of London. We'll see how they do in this one. I think that this is this a loser leaves town game? I guess is the last thing. Like, we can completely write off both of these teams. One of these teams if they lose. Like, you can't write off the Jaguars if they win this, right?
Right. I think you have to reluctantly not quite write off the winner of this game is the way I would probably phrase it.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
the loser kind of comes back in town, but like they're in an Airbnb.
That's fair. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I'm going to give you a game. There's a few I'm not sure about. You know what? I think I'm going to give you the balls taken on the Colts. We have a couple of superstar quarterbacks heading at it here. Obviously, the big announcement that Matt Ryan was benched by the Indianapolis Colts. They're going with Sam Ehlinger, who I liked out of college. I think it's probably the right move at this point, given what we've seen from Matt Ryan. Kyle, who do you have winning this football game?
What are the odds that at this point of the season, like we kind of expected this to be like the Carson Wentz potential revenge game, another one. And it was supposed to be him and Matt Ryan going at it. They were kind of swapped for each other. And then neither of them make it to this game.
Right. And not because like they're just like hurt or anything, but like it's because they're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just wild. Give me. Just trying to buy myself a little bit of time because I don't feel confident with this pick.
Right. You're good. What's crazy about this game too is the winner of if Washington wins, they will be 4-4, which feels insane. That they would be like a fringe playoff team at this point. The Colts would be 4-3-1. So both of these teams. I mean, if you're a fan of these teams, you're saying, hey, we still have a shot at the playoffs here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, so the two sides I'm looking at is the Colts can't really cover, And I think that's a recipe for disaster against Washington because it's the one thing they can kind of do is get open. And then I imagine this Sam Ellinger thing's like a gravitational shift to put the ball in Jonathan Taylor's hands. But the thing was with Matt Ryan is like they were willingly throwing the ball 40 to 50 times a game. So did they actually want to put the ball in Jonathan Taylor's hands a lot? Give me the balls. Give me the balls here.
Okay.
I think that they can go make some plays in this one. I still like this receiving core, and I don't like this Colts team. So I'm taking the balls in this one.
Yeah, you've been very vocal about your hatred of this Colts team. And listen, their advanced numbers are very poor. Looking at that, so I do get it. I had the Colts winning this one. To me, well, I think that's a fair point. I think that, we'll see what the Washington can be able to do throwing the football. I do feel like we saw a little bit of Jonathan Taylor coming alive. I also feel like I trust. I mean, if we're being honest, the Colts probably win that football game, or at least have a very good chance of winning that football game last week against the Titans if they had decent quarterback play. They just had such bad quarterback play that going for Ellinger, kind of hoping for mediocrity, I think it can work, although it would be funny if he came in and just was also just as bad.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
Right.
I mean,
he was a sixth rounder.
Yeah. I mean, so these are two top 10 run defenses, which I think is the interesting thing because I think both of these teams are going to want to establish the run, whether I think it's right or not. So, like, if it comes back down to who's throwing the ball a little bit more, like, crazily enough, I trust Taylor Heinicke more than Sam Ellinger.
I think that's fair. I think there's just a big wild card with a quarterback we haven't seen play before, so that's why I'm giving it to you.
Is this the saddest quarterback matchup of, like, the last 5 years?
Well, I mean, that's no. I feel like there's been there's probably been sadder ones. I forget who Nathan Peterman played, but that one.
Well, I was gonna say too the one where the Broncos weren't playing a quarterback.
Right? Yeah, that was tough. I mean, I guess
Hinton was
maybe is this the worst best quarterback in a game? Is Taylor Heinicke the worst best quarterback heading into a football game the past 5 years?
Yeah, I think so. Besides, we're removing Kendall Hinton from this conversation.
But like Kendall Hinton played what? He played. I think he played Taysom Hill actually, if I remember correctly. So that one, that's the one. We found a one.
Yeah. So I think I might take Taysom Hill over Taylor Heinicke.
All right. Wow. Well, I think okay. Fair enough. Let's move on. I won't fight you on it too much. Let's go to give me a game.
I can't quit this game. I can't quit it. I got to give it to you. Giants at Seahawks. Take it. I don't want it.
Giants at Seahawks. Somehow, again, the Seahawks are favored. Although this is the one game, I believe this is the only game this week where there's two winning teams playing each other. Who would have thought the Giants Seahawks is the game, man? Because part of it's like, how are the Giants still underdogs here? Well, Seattle has a decent record. Seattle's not playing that poorly here. You're right. This is a great game to pick. I can definitely see why you would pick either one here. Part of me just feels like because the Giants keep getting disrespected, I have to pick them. But I think it's funnier if I pick the Seahawks. So I'm going to pick the Seahawks.
That's sound logic. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, listen, one of the things that Seattle does have going for them very well is, the running game all of a sudden, working a lot better. You would have thought that, oh man, dude, the Rashad Penny injury, this is going to make things really tough. But with Walker and how he's been able to come in, Kenneth Walker and how he's been able to perform as well as he has so far, really kind of taking this team to a new level. Plus, tier one quarterback Geno Smith has helped a lot too. Yeah,
I think there's a chance that Seattle runs all over them. And the Giants just can't get off the field and it stops. Although, on the flip side, this duo of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley on the ground has become, like, the greatest thing ever. Like,
I don't know if I would go that far.
The way these two move, it's like watching, like, Michael Vick and Warren Dunn back there, isn't it?
Not quite.
They've run very well. They were very well last game. But, this game could be over in like 2 hours if they stick to those game plans. I think that's the case. But I don't know. Is DK Metcalf out for this game? I haven't seen.
I don't know. I feel like this is a very regular occurrence where you ask me about an injury update, and I'm not great at knowing the injury updates.
Well, he hasn't practiced, so I'm assuming no.
It's
Um,
one of the issues of doing this. I thought Wednesday we never know who actually is playing and who isn't.
yeah. So I think it's a I think there's a chance that he doesn't play. That I think that hurts the Seahawks a little bit. That being said, I think the emphasis is going to be on the ground game in this one. I'm kind of leaning Seahawks too. I don't love the pick, but I don't really know. I don't like picking either of these teams because I haven't been right about either of these teams so far this season. So really tough to judge.
Right. We've seen Seattle's defense start to play a little better. That was the kind of the issue, and this has become a trend with Seattle over the years of starting off really poorly, but then slowly getting better. Past 2 weeks, they've been good. 23 points against the Chargers, 9 points against the Cardinals. So, again, I'm not saying that they've been otherworldly either, but the way their offense is playing, if with a competent defense, this can be a playoff team.
And it's getting better every week. I still
Mhm.
don't think I'm not going to classify it as great or anything,
Right.
but they're now respectable levels. Like I thought there was at one point I thought they were one of the worst defenses in football, and now we can confidently say they are not one of the worst defenses in football.
Right. I guess that is the compliment. They're still 25th in EPA, but slowly moving up the ranks. They were 30. I believe they were 32nd at one point.
Yeah, them and the Lions I thought were at one point they were pretty head and shoulders below everybody else, and
Hmm.
they've slowly climbed their way back up.
Yeah, actually, interesting. The Giants 24th, so they're right next to each other.
Something's got to give this week, that's for sure.
Yeah, that should be interesting with these two teams. Both have had good offenses, so it could actually be a pretty sneaky, fun game.
I think it could be. I just think that they're going to run the ball a lot, so I think it could be,
That can be fun.
quick game, a lot of little possessions, and that could add to it. But I think both of these teams are primed to make big explosive plays in the run game because that's what they've done all season. Both of these teams have managed to do that this season.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun. Let's move on. Why don't we? So I'm going to give you a game here. I think I'm going to give you I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want to go with this. I'm going to give you let's go Raiders at Saints. Why don't we?
Good pick. Considering locking this up, but I think I'm going to stay disciplined because there's one game I like a little bit more. I'll take the Raiders, though. I think this team is going to play better. I don't trust this Saints team at all right now. And that's really it. I just don't trust the Saints team at all. I don't think it's very good. Their defense is starting to slip a little bit, mainly because, as we've said, coverage is a little inconsistent. I don't think Tyrann Mathieu is fit into this defense quite as well as we had hoped. So I think that the Raiders should be able to move on this team, and I think that's going to work, and they're going to win this game.
Yeah, you've been very much pro Raiders, which is unlike you. But this season you've been a very pro. It's been a very pro Raiders podcast for multiple reasons now. I get what you're saying, but listen, I've been watching this Raiders team for very closely for several years now. This would be such a Raiders loss, wouldn't it? Isn't this the ultimate Raiders? We're starting to get optimism. We're starting to have hope, and then they lose to a team that they probably should beat.
Possibly, but I feel like they've already had their dumb losses. Like they can't
They
get any
can always get
dumber.
dumber.
No, I don't think it can get any dumber. They had a game
Okay.
against the Chargers that they outplayed the Chargers and threw
Hmm.
3 interceptions. They had a game against the Cardinals where Kyler Murray had like 2 50-second plays. And I don't even think 50 seconds is an exaggeration. That's how much time went off the clock it felt like.
Hmm.
And then they had the Titans game, which they lost. Wasn't it like a 2-point conversion that was dropped in the end zone or something like that?
Hmm.
Like all of these games that they've lost have been, and then there was the Chiefs game that they didn't get the 2-point conversion to win that one. Like all of these losses have been dumb. I don't think it can actually get any dumber if the Raiders manage to lose this game.
But it's the Raiders. This is what they do. This is just when you think they can't get any dumber, they get dumber.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what would it be like a surprise onside kick that's recovered and returned for a touchdown by the returned for a touchdown by the Saints, and they win that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think back to the Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing a game winner while getting his helmet ripped off. I mean, that's the Raiders can find a way to disappoint, but on a serious level, Raiders offense really come alive, looking very good. The Raiders defense, spotty. I think is fair to say.
Yes,
Hmm.
that it has been spotty. I think it's 26th in EPA right now.
Hmm.
It hasn't looked good top to bottom outside of Max Crosby, basically. I don't know how it improves. I don't know if there's enough talent on that side of the ball. But I think part of the reason why I'm picking them too is that I don't really love the Saints defense either. I think it's been okay. I think it's been solid, but it doesn't feel like I'm watching the Saints anymore. And of the
Right.
Saints I've watched the last 5 years, this doesn't feel like it anymore.
Yeah. No. I'm with you. Also, also got to give some love to Nate Hobbs. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. He's
Hmm.
very good. Sorry,
Yes.
Nate Hobbs.
Yeah. But no. No. I totally. I get what you're saying. I had the Raiders winning as well. I'm just saying I could see it going the other way, but I would pick the Raiders to win as well. Any final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I could see a scenario where the Saints win too. I see a scenario where they win, where they take care of the football, make big plays. I mean, their last two games, they've been winnable games, and the Bengals are red hot, and they played them down to the wire. And then they had two dumb pick sixes, and still only lost by 8 to the Cardinals. So I do see a scenario when they win this game too. I think this Raiders team's good, and I'm sticking to that until they prove me wrong, which could be this week, and then I write them off.
Yeah. No. It should be interesting. Let's move on. Why don't we? Kyle, give me a game.
All right, let's go with these teams have had, either some success or a little bit of success, I think, this season. Um, but I think they both look kind of underwhelming at points. Let's go Cardinals at Vikings.
Cardinals Vikings, interesting game. Great uniform matchup. I like this uniform matchup. I know you never have anything to say about uniforms, but I'm a fan of this one. You're right. This is a tough one to pick because the Cardinals do look very different now with Hopkins out there. And as much as you want to say, oh, they're so dependent on one player, well, that player is really good and he's playing in this game, so that's
Yeah.
okay in this situation. I think that the Cardinals offense will have success. I just think the Vikings will have more success on offense. So I'm picking the Vikings to win. I don't know how they're going to cover Justin Jefferson, but I don't think it's going to go too well.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. This Cardinals team is second worst in the league in dropback success rate, and what is it? Fifth worst in dropback EPA. So, that analysis equals it's bad. It's not very good and hasn't been good
Mhm.
at all this season. Outside of weirdly the Seahawks, which have just been a buzzsaw offensively, the only team they couldn't move the ball
Uh-huh.
on is the Cardinals. That's the thing with this Cardinals team is every week I feel like you could give me 10 different scenarios and I'll see 10 different results for the Cardinals this season. Because obviously the Kansas City game was embarrassingly bad. Last
Mhm.
week against the Saints, they got 2 defensive touchdowns and still didn't look that great defensively. But then
Uh-huh.
they also played the Seahawks and Eagles, and I thought the defense looked pretty good. So
Mhm.
I don't really know what to think of this defense right now. I don't really know what to think of this team right now. I still feel like it's trying to figure out who it is, but we're week 8 into the season, so obviously they're running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely one of the teams that's been harder to get really grab your really get a handle on what they can do well. Because again, coverage hasn't been spectacular. I mean, really, I feel like none of their defensive parts. I'm like, oh, that's been like great. Like I feel like there's like maybe a couple players I like, but as a whole, nothing's been spectacular on defense whatsoever. This is a team with two really good players. It's Kyler
Yep.
Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. And like, I mean, maybe you could throw JJ Watt in there, but like that's pretty much what they're a star talent driven team. The Vikings are kind of that, but they're just more well rounded.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that. I'm obviously Justin Jefferson's one of the best in the business. So
Hmm.
it is true. Like there is a chance that he just goes nuts in this game. And I don't know if there's anyone in the Cardinals designed to stop him. Although, I have seen the Byron Murphy propaganda machine pop up a few times that he's actually much better than we think.
Hmm.
He's had a couple good games, but I think he's wildly inconsistent. That's fine. But yeah, I think it's a really tough matchup for anybody on Arizona to have success against him.
Yeah, I'm convinced you could just tell a narrative could pop about any corner being good and people will believe it. Like I think you could do. Think you could do that about any corner. Like you could be like, actually, Damon Arnett is the best cornerback in football history, and people are like, oh yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he was awesome. No, I definitely think so because I think on the right day when you're locked in and make some big plays, it's impressive as a corner because you're outside on an island. I think it's a
Hmm.
really tough position, so I think it's hard to kind of judge effectively. And then, like you said, it can be wildly inconsistent because guys play up and down, and it's kind of a hodgepodge position where you're just not really sure.
Well, and not to mention, I mean, you only see them for like a second into the play typically.
Yeah. One thing to look at this game too is that, I think this Vikings team likes to send a lot of crossing routes out of play action, that sort of stuff. These linebackers stink. They continue to stink. They haven't been good basically since they came into the league.
That's another propaganda thing. I think there's like a Isaiah Simmons is good actually propaganda thing.
By who? Who's saying this?
Someone on Twitter tweeted it to me.
I think he's better. I don't think he's
Mm.
good.
Yeah, no, he's not.
But I mean, the problem is that better was literally from rock bottom because he looked like a disaster his first 2 years.
Right. Yeah, no. All right. Well, on that note, let's move on. Why don't we? Okay, I'm gonna give you a game here. Looking down this list, you know what? This might feel like a bit of a reach, but I'm not wanting to pick this game. I'm giving you Panthers at Falcons, divisional matchup. Panthers coming off of an upset victory. Falcons have been surprisingly competent this year. They're 4.5-point favorites. Where are you going?
Give me the Falcons. I think it's it. I think the Panthers put their heart and soul into that last game. I don't think we can get a repeat performance there. I think that the Falcons should win this game. I think that they're the better team. I think they have more talent. I don't see a scenario where PJ Walker has back-to-back weeks that he's awesome. So I like the Falcons in this one. I guess when you look at the Panthers, the big thing though is that this defense is good. Like I think, as far as tanking teams go, I think this is one of the better defenses on a tanking team we've seen. I think that they're going to be able to have a lot of success potentially against this Falcons offense. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be really tough. And I think PJ Walker, this screams meltdown game for PJ Walker and the Panthers offense. So I'll take the Falcons at home.
Well, why do you say that? I mean, this as much as we want to say that this Panthers offense, look at the issues they've had, and they certainly have, again, significantly by worse. They're significantly the worst in EPA per play, but most of that was with Baker Mayfield out there. This Falcons defense has not been very good. I mean, if there's going to be a team that they can look solid in, it should be against the Falcons.
Theoretically, but at the same time, I think if you're going to say this offense looked better last week, sure, but at the same time, can we expect a same repeat performance? I'm willing to bet that the data is probably closer, that they're still one of the worst offenses in the league. I just feel like that, last week they played really well, they played really spirited, and they got that win. I still think that they're going to scale out as one of probably the worst offense in football, and I think they're going to grade probably down there the rest of the season.
Listen, I'm not saying they're a good offense. I'm just saying I'm not sure I'm willing to say this week is going to be a meltdown performance just because of who they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's not like the Falcons or anything to write home about. I just think that despite what this Falcons defense is, which isn't ideal, I'm trusting it more than the Panthers offense to outplay them.
Here's my logic behind why I think this is the complete toss-up game. And you know what? I'll just whatever. I'm not picking it, so I'll say I'm picking the Panthers to upset the Falcons here, even though I think the Falcons are all right. I think both of these teams suck at something. The Panthers suck at offense. The Falcons suck at defense. But I think that this Panthers defense is very good, and I think that the Falcons offense is okay. It's good. It's solid, but it's not like a great offense. It's been they're 11th in EPA per play. They're can do some nice things, but I just think that I like the Panthers defense to be. I think the Panthers are competent, which I did my analytics thing this week, and they were better than I expected. They actually have been performing pretty well. They came off a good week against Tampa Bay. I could see them being able to pull off this victory.
Yeah, I don't think it's like set in stone they're not going to win. But I think I'm just going to lean Falcons because I still think they're a better team, and I think there's more talent here. And I see more scenarios where they win and can at least get to 20 and hold off the Panthers than I see them losing.
Yeah, listen, I get it. I totally get it because they at least have some defensive players. Panthers don't really have much offensive players, but we don't spend forever on it. Want to move on?
Yeah, let's roll around here. Let's go 49ers at Rams.
All right, 49ers at Rams. There was 2 games I was considering locking up. I'm assuming you're looking towards the other one I was considering. So I'm just going to make sure I get the one I want, get one of the 2 I want. I'm picking the 49ers, and I'm locking them up.
Okay. Why?
Well, I think I like what I saw from Christian McCaffrey, and I think giving him a full week could make this 49ers team really electric, which, this Rams defense has been not great. excuse me, the Rams offense has been not great. The defense hasn't been as good as we expected it to be either. But I think the 49ers should be able to move the ball down the field against the Rams. They always play well against the Rams. This is a team that they have a history of success with, except for the one game it mattered the most in recent history. So I like that logic behind it. And I also just think that, I just don't know who this Rams team is right now. They're a team that's seemingly really struggling. And we just saw the 49ers crush the Rams just a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, this is the second worst offense by EPA. This
Crazy.
being the Rams. Like, that just seems undescribable to me that that's even possible. Now, they're coming, I believe, off the bye week. So maybe, they got some time to get some guys healthy. It kind of works out. They bounce back. I wouldn't be surprised if this team all of a sudden bounces back on offense and gets good. But I still don't love the talent options they have. You say you're the worst running team in football in Tampa. I think this is the worst running team in football by far. I don't like any of these guys that they have. I think that it's basically Kupp and a little bit of Tyler Higbee, and then everything else feels like a bust right now. But maybe with the bye week, Allen Robinson coming back, getting a little more reps, all these guys, maybe that works out for them. But I'm concerned for this Rams team going forward.
Yeah. Part of it is the Buccaneers nearly a tenth of a point lower than the next team in rush EPA. They're doing some tough stuff there. But yeah, no, I get success rate, they're a little bit better. So and the Rams actually had the worst rush success rate. So if on the EPA page, both of us have a point in our favor there. This is a team that there's just not a lot that they have going on offensively, right? I mean, they just don't, like, we can keep saying what's wrong with them. It's kind of like, well, I mean, all they really have right now is one wide receiver and solid, tier 2 quarterback.
Yeah. I mean,
their offensive line sucks. Their receiving depth sucks. Their running game sucks. Like, that's all they have.
But okay, so do you think any of these guys can get better? I guess is the question. Like,
sure.
I mean, we could see a better Allen Robinson going forward. Like, that is possible. That's the thing I want to see. Like, I still think there's a couple guys here that I can bank on at least possibly doing pretty well. But we still need to see it. I would pick Niners in this game too. I probably wouldn't lock it up just because I want the Niners are still a little banged up. But, what we saw last week with the Niners, with what they're doing with this running game, with adding Christian McCaffrey to the fold, I do feel like they're the better team right now and probably the favorite. I think they're the team right now I'd pick to win the West.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, it would either probably be I can't imagine people are picking Seattle, even though they're currently in first, or Arizona. So it would really be these two teams. And I think if I'm locking up the 49ers, I think I clearly have them as the favorite.
Yeah. And, I mean, a couple of the guys are starting to come back for this 49ers team too, so it's not all out. I think Hufanga ended up playing last week. Armstead possibly plays, Bosa plays, so a couple guys coming back on this defense, maybe it works out.
Yeah, no, should be a fascinating one. All right, I'm giving you a game. I'm gonna give you, looking here exactly where I want to go. I'll give you the Dolphins at Lions.
Yeah, give me the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And do I want to do it or do I want to wait?
Oh, are you going to do it?
Yeah, let me lock up the Dolphins. I think this Lions team's starting to fall apart the last few weeks. They haven't looked good at all. They've gotten beaten up pretty handily by the last 2 games they've played. I like the Dolphins to win this one by a touchdown. I think that they showed that if they can play, I think they're going to get back to what they were in that first quarter of the Steelers game and what they kind of have been all year with Tua. So I think that they're going to be able to move the ball in this Lions team. This Lions team's been outscored. Quick mental math here, everybody loves that. They've been outscored 53-6 the last 2 games. That's bad. So I think that the first few weeks, their offense was able to move the ball a little bit, keep it close. It hasn't really worked out the last few weeks. I think teams are starting to figure it out. And I like the Dolphins to go and handle this game and do what they need to do.
Yeah, there's another game that could have been a lock-worthy game as well that does not get locked up. Back-to-back locks. What other show are you seeing that?
Yeah, I was considering the Titans-Texans game, but I think this is too good to pass up because I think the line's still a little off on what Detroit is. I don't think this is a good football team, and I think it's starting to get owned a little bit by the better football teams.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, the Lions, the excitement early on was fun, but their offensive statistics have really crumbled these past few weeks as well.
And this isn't a defense that's going to be able to hold it up. Like, I don't think the Cowboys were awesome last week. Like, it wasn't their best game, and Dak's still clearly working his way back. But the big thing is that they gave up 4.3 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, 139 yards on the ground, and Dak Prescott only threw 6 incompletions. So even a team that's not at 100% on offense still moves the ball pretty effectively in their game. Like, the Cowboys did not have a lot of issues in that game. They're just kind of, still shaking off the rust from their quarterback spot. This theoretically is a team with their quarterback now back for the second week. They should be a lot better, I think, than they were in the second half of that Steelers game. And I just think that they should roll in this one.
Yeah, I have two concerns about this lock by you. One funny one and one real one. The real one is this Dolphins secondary has really struggled this season. On paper, it's great, but it struggled this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown only had 4 yards against the Cowboys. Excuse me. The Cowboys do cover very well. The Patriots cover very well. Going to a team that has not covered as well, could we see the Lions' offense kind of resurface again?
Um, Potentially, but if Xavier Howard ends up playing in this game, like I know it's not hasn't been great this year, but I'm still banking on the talent to be okay. Like I think I still think he's a guy that offense is fear. Sorry. So if he's able to play in this game, I think he's going to be able to have success and win that battle.
Yeah, no. I think that's fair. The other concern, you are betting against Dan lose but cover Campbell here. They need to cover the 3.5 points. The Lions lose by 3 points against everybody. This is a concern.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have locked it for sure.
Uh-huh.
But this Lions team is now 3-3 against the spread and hasn't looked like the same team at all since. And yeah, I just think the way they've been beaten up the last 2 weeks, I feel pretty good about them not being able to go.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Let's move on. So we have 5 games left. You're giving me a game.
Yes. Let's do divisional matchup, even though I think this line's a little disrespectful to the favorite. Let's go Bengals at Browns.
Bengals at Browns. Okay, I thought you were maybe going a different direction. Yeah, a bit of a surprising line. Because it's interesting. There's a couple of close lines. This one and then Titans Texans. Titans are only 2.5 point favorites. But I was saying, like, do I really want to pick one of those two next? Just because I feel like both of those lines do feel disrespectful. This was next on my list though, as well. Yeah, I'm picking the Bengals to win this football game. I'm assuming the idea is, hey, this Browns team has, again, coverage is fluky, but they have at times looked like they have very good coverage. If they can cover the Bengals and kind of play their 2 safety deep coverage, not allow them to get beat down the field, could we see this be another one of those the Bengals kind of struggling when they're playing a team that's really playing off, and this could potentially help out Cleveland enough to hopefully be able to win a lower scoring game, which is going to be tough against Cincinnati. But that's the pathway for the Browns' victory, right?
It is the pathway, but that being said, like even if I think the Browns are going to play a super conservative defensive approach, trying not a lot of big plays. But that being said, Joe Burrow has been the best quarterback in football the last 3 or 4 weeks, or at least one of the top 2 or 3. So it may just not matter at this point with the way he's played and the way he has bounced back after that first game. So I think it's going to be really tough for them to stop him. I don't trust this Browns defense because it's looked really bad, I think, the first few weeks of the season. And they also can't stop the run. And if you're going to give Zach Taylor an excuse to run the ball, he's going to take advantage of it. So we'll see if that happens in this one. I do think that the Browns could potentially move the ball on the Bengals by running it too. I do think that's a possibility. That being said, I just don't trust Jacoby Brissett. I'm kind of over it. And yeah, I don't trust that to be able to work out for them and keep up with this Bengals team the way they played the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, one other aspect is even if the Browns are doing what I'm saying defensively, like we saw last week, Tyler Boyd had a great game in that circumstance. So it's not like that's an easy way to stop this team, anyways. And it feels like for the Browns to win, they probably will have to, hold this Bengals team at least like underneath. I don't know, maybe not underneath 20, but underneath like 28.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Bengals running up on them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've torched teams the last few weeks. They've just torched them. I just don't see a scenario where they're able to do that again, where the
Yeah.
Browns are able to keep up with that. I mean,
One interesting thing about this Bengals team, I want to talk about their offensive line, right? That was
okay.
kind of the thing is, they fixed this offensive line. But you look at, just look at their PFF grades. You have, Ted Karras and Alex Kappa, two new additions who have played well. But then you have Cordell Volson, who's been the guard, who they kind of, they didn't really do much to replace. He was the fourth rounder. He hasn't looked great. You also have Jonah Williams, who hasn't graded well this season, and Leo Collins, who has graded terribly this season. So you got some pass rushers coming to town. That's maybe a concern.
Yeah, potentially. I think it is actually because you're going to see Garrett a lot on probably Collins. So, can Collins win that battle? I mean, he's talented enough to win, even against Myles Garrett. He is talented enough to at least hold his own. But we haven't seen it yet this season from him. So that's going to be an interesting matchup in the trenches. That being said, like it's not like the rest. I mean, outside of Garrett, who's obviously fantastic, and I think Clowney, when he's been on the field, has been pretty good too. But I think the interior of this defensive line has not been very good for the Browns. So, like, they could probably find ways to put a little more emphasis on those guys on the edge. Keep Hurst keep Hurst on the line of scrimmage, throwing chip blocks in there, doing different things because it doesn't feel like a lot of rush is going to come up the middle on this team.
Yeah. No, it should be an interesting game. Let's move on. I'm going to give you, finally going to pick it, the 2.5-point spread. Titans, Texans, another divisional matchup. Somehow the Texans are only 2.5-point underdogs here. I don't know why. Kyle, who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I have the Titans, obviously. I don't get this line at all. I think the
Hmm.
Titans are a significantly better team. I guess the one thing that I don't love, so we've seen the last few weeks with this Lions team kind of fall apart. At least the Texans have had competitive games. Like they were in that
Hmm.
Chargers game and had a chance to win it. The Bears obviously is a weird scenario. Bears and Broncos both stink. They're also in the Jaguars game and ended up winning that one. I think, I also think that Raiders game was a little more competitive than the scoreline showed.
Yeah, it
Like
was.
the
Hmm.
Raiders kind of ran it up at the end of that game, but I thought it was a pretty competitive game throughout. So I guess you could say they're not a 3-point, like they haven't been like within three of a lot of these teams, but I think they've been competitive. I like guys on their team. When you look at the offense side of the ball with Pierce, with Brandon Cook, there's still guys on that team that I think are pretty decent. And that's why, I'm not picking, I didn't lock them up at the end, but I do think they're a significantly worse team than Tennessee.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about this is another game where both teams are going to try to run the ball a lot, right? This is going to be,
Yeah.
should be a run heavy game. And I think that, you brought up the Raiders game. Yeah, the Texans led in the fourth quarter in that game, and then the Raiders outscored the Texans 21-0 in the fourth quarter. So maybe figure that out, Lovie Smith. But just like, do we really trust Lovie Smith to be able to scheme up a way to stop Derrick Henry?
No, I know.
Hmm.
But wouldn't this be the game if you're Tennessee, like, okay, we want to lighten the load a little bit on Derrick Henry this season, make it a little easier on him. Wouldn't this be the game where you want Tannehill to kind of throw the ball 30 times?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they think that way though.
I don't know. Like, I think at some point you're kind of playing with fire if you're just going to keep handing him the ball all the time.
I
Like,
think if you do that, what you would do is you would hand it off to a backup more times in this game. I don't think that I would go with throwing the ball more.
that's true. Like you probably ended up using just Hilliard in the backfield a little bit more.
Hmm.
So which I think is a perfectly viable option. I don't think the Texans are good at anything defensively. So
Hmm.
you might have success at both. But I do think this is the kind of secondary where, this team has some young or new wide receivers they wanted to work in. I know Burks is out. I think Phillips is out too. But if you want to get your passing game going, this is definitely the secondary you could throw on.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It should be it's one that I just think the Titans, for the Titans, hey, You're a team that's, you're trying to be competitive. You got out to the slow start. Go blow out the Texans, right? I feel like I say this every now and then about it. It's like this is one where if you want to be respected, go win by 20.
Yeah, that's what we want to see, but also I don't think that's who Tennessee is. I just, they have one game that's been won by more than 7 points this season.
But that's also kind of what they do.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 3 games left. Also, one of these games is going to go undrafted. So I'm going to give you one of the 3. This is actually the last game that you will pick.
No, this is my pick. I'm giving you.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, my bad.
You're good. Let's go Bears at Cowboys.
Okay, Bears, Cowboys, the red hot Chicago
Actually,
Bears.
wait, can I change that?
No, it's already in.
Ah, damn. Okay.
I mean, you can. I don't. Whatever.
Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna pull it off. Let's give you the Packers. Packers at Bills.
Okay, Packers at Bills. I'm sure Bears, Cowboys fans who are trying to just skip ahead, who didn't want to watch the whole video, very frustrated that we changed it. But yes, Packers, Bills. It's an interesting one. This is the one I would have gone with next as well, because I mean, who would have thought the Packers 10.5-point underdogs? I'm picking the Bills to win. And to be honest, if you told me who do you have to bet on, I might pick the Bills minus 10.5. I think I would just because of the novelty of betting against Aaron Rodgers 10.5 points. But I feel like I might pick Buffalo minus 10.5.
And I kind of like it just because they've kind of beaten up everybody. So I just don't see a scenario where, the Packers are able to keep up. That being said, if if we're here because this is the Sunday night game, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're tuning in with us Sunday night at midnight Eastern, by the way, make sure you're back here. If you're tuning in with us Sunday night at midnight Eastern, and all of a sudden we just watched for 3 hours Chris Collinsworth go, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers, you just can't get enough of this guy, man. Look, this is the guy who just in the biggest moments comes up for his team." I wouldn't be surprised by that at all because it's Aaron Rodgers and that's who he is, and he's the back-to-back MVP. So if this is the game where he comes alive and kind of bounces back, I wouldn't be overly shocked.
Yeah, we'll see. Kyle, great impression. I didn't know you did impressions.
You like my Collinsworth?
Yeah, fantastic.
All right. Well, maybe I'll bring it back.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. No. But you're absolutely right. This just I can see it in my head, but just because I can see it in my head doesn't mean that will actually happen. We've also but there's the whole controversy over Aaron Rodgers saying that his bad teammates who aren't playing well, which they're not. So I don't really see the issue with it. But also we have a super chat. Bro, are you going to break down the Bears, Pats? I'm probably going to get a video at some point in there within the next couple of days. Yes. And thank you for the super chat. I believe he was talking to me.
Oh, I thought he was talking about us. Yeah, it's at the beginning of the show.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you want to see that too, go ahead to the beginning of the show if you missed it.
Yeah, what were you saying? Sorry, I got distracted there.
I just logically, I don't see how the Packers move the ball against this Bills defense. It's been so good. And maybe this is the game that their defense comes to life. Green Bay's does, but it still feels like it's going to have to really come to life. You might have to have a bad Josh Allen day for them to win this game, which, listen, we haven't seen much of them this season. There is a history of that, but I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And the thing is that there's still talent on this Green Bay team. If the secondary steps up and performs, I could see a scenario where the secondary is able to slow down the Bills' offense. I'm not betting on it because the Bills' offense has torched everybody this season, but I do think there's a scenario for that. Patrick Mahomes, we just saw a couple weeks ago, have some success against this Bills' defense. I know he had the 2 interceptions, but I would still say overall he was pretty good in that game. I think Rodgers is capable of pulling those games out too. I wouldn't be blown away if this is all of a sudden 28-20 in the fourth quarter. And it's like you're looking down and it's like, oh, Alan Lazard has 8 catches for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's just like, I'm getting Lazard the ball and we're going to do some things. And he's going to hit that stupid back shoulder throw 4 or 5 times in this game. And it's just going to be unguardable because that's who Aaron Rodgers is. So, yes, I think the Bills are a significantly better team. They should blow out this Packers team. But it's also Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers.
But someone has to catch the ball too.
Yeah, I know. But like,
We saw that, we saw Brady his last year in New England. We thought this could be a situation here. I think Rodgers is playing well, but I just think that there's only so much you can do.
yeah, I do think it's a scenario for that. But like, we're still, it's still young guys on that Green Bay team. Is Randall Cobb playing in this game or is he out? Oh, he's on IR. Okay, I was just looking at that. So, I do think, can a couple of these guys just play good enough to make it happen? Like, I'm not betting on it, but I just think Aaron Rodgers has this greatness in him that he could pull out in this game.
It really is incredible how we're talking about how the Cardinals collapse without DeAndre Hopkins. The Packers are collapsing because they don't have Randall Cobb. I mean, that's where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, that's bad. It's a bad offense.
Mm-hmm. No, and I want to be clear. I actually like this Packers team, okay? I think they still could be a playoff team, but I just think against Buffalo, I just think it's tough.
Yeah. They need something to go right. That's for sure.
Yeah, also Scotty brings up Green Bay special teams is so terrible too. Yeah, what is that? How is it that 31 teams pretty much have punting and field goal, getting the field goal off? Again, some teams can't get a kicker, but it feels like everything else about special teams, 31 teams pretty much have down except for the Packers.
The whole point of getting Rich Bisaccia was to fix this.
Uh-huh.
I thought Rich Bisaccia was like the best special teams coordinator in football or something like that. That's what we were told. What's going on here? It looks like the Nebraska graduate assistants out there.
Is it possible? So they added Rich Bisaccia because of the great work he did as interim head coach of the Raiders. Is it possible he's just a good interim head coach? Is it possible he just be a head coach and not a special teams coordinator? Like, I feel like he did great at a different job, and so then you hired him. Then he became like the guy for the first job he had.
He'd probably be the only person ever who's a better head coach than special teams coordinator.
Right. It seems, but it would be like if I don't know, if I did something very difficult. If I went and directed a movie and it was amazing, and then I came back to YouTube. And then people are like, oh, he's going to be the best YouTuber ever. No, I'm still my mediocre YouTube self who can also do this really impressive thing.
Hey, I think you're selling yourself short a little bit there, man.
Yeah, you think slightly above mediocre?
This is the best YouTube channel in the business.
This is well, yes. The podcast is number one, but that's for sure.
All of it's good, man. Keep it up.
Okay, I appreciate it. I wasn't fishing for compliments. I'm just trying to be self-deprecating. But yes, thank you, Kyle. Let's move on. Why don't we? It should be. I'm gonna have a great time watching that game, though. Either way, what happens? I mean, if the Packers do suck, that's always fun, right? I like a good Aaron Rodgers gets angry at his teammates game.
Yeah, him rolling his eyes a couple times, looking down at the ground,
and they'll use every second of footage they get it at.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Collinsworth is just like, Aaron Rodgers just, he can't get chemistry with these guys. He's a little older. He just can't vibe with these guys like he used to anymore.
That's a good point. I can see him making it an age. Again, spot on. Not even just the impression, but also the way that he's going to, Collinsworth, if they struggle, is going to bring up the age difference as well. I mean, just, Kyle, I don't know if you've been watching a lot of Collinsworth lately, but you're spot on.
I've been watching Collinsworth for like 20 years now.
That's true. Yeah.
That's my guy. I love Collinsworth. Keep it up.
Yeah, I'm a big Collinsworth fan as well. Let's move on. Bears, Cowboys. We still have another game that we won't pick, but we will preview at the end. The Steelers, Eagles. But Bears, Cowboys goes off the board here. Can Justin Fields keep it going? Hey, there could be something with the the good running game attacking this Dallas Cowboys secondary.
Potentially, we saw a little bit of a
just to be clear, I said that stupidly. Attacking the Cowboys and negating their great secondary.
Yeah. So potentially we saw a little bit of a shift in what the Bears wanted to do. And could it work again? Possibly. That being said, there's a little bit of tape on it, so we'll see how teams adjust. That being said, I also think that the Cowboys defensive line is better than the Patriots defensive line. So I don't know if that's going to work. A lot of those came too with like a lot of those third down conversions was Fields being able to buy some time and make throws like after holding the ball forever. That's not going to work against Micah Parsons. Like just full stop. It's not going to work against Micah Parsons. So I don't see a scenario where that happens again. He was able to escape Matthew Judon a couple times. Parsons is a different animal. So give me the Cowboys. I think they're the better team, obviously. But there is a roadmap now to where we see the Bears have success, right? It seems like for the first time this season, it felt like the Bears had a plan and they executed it.
Yeah. Also, Rex in the chat says the Bears traded Robert Quinn for a bag of chips. They ain't winning, and I like their young players, but Roquan was crying today. They're devastated. An interesting point about the mental side of you trade a player, maybe it didn't work for the Panthers, but maybe that can be, sort of make it feel like people don't believe in you. The flip side is it'll benefit them not having a completely ineffective edge rusher out there in Roquan Smith.
I saw your tweet about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do I think he's having the best season? No. But that being said, like, I don't think he's useless. So,
I mean,
I don't
this
know.
season, just to be clear, for people that don't follow me on Twitter, first off, how dare you? But secondly, so he has currently 7 pressures in 7 games, and he's Pro Football Focus's 4th lowest graded edge rusher out of 112 eligible edge rushers. Now, for the Eagles, hey, maybe a change of scenery will work out. Maybe it'll be good. But the Bears got rid of a player who was was playing below replacement level, because again, a replacement level player will get you around 20, 25 pressures a season. So Roquan Smith was averaging below that. So you're getting rid of basically a below replacement level player for a 4th round pick, and you're getting a little bit of cap relief in this as well. They're taking on the majority of the contract, but you're still getting some cap relief. So I think it's a great win for the Bears.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Could you have gotten more compensation? Maybe, but at the same time, like you said, he hasn't performed up to what we're seeing. It could be one of those situations, I think, where like, okay, it looks bad, I think, in a vacuum to say you lost a guy of Quinn's caliber, but I feel like these defensive line trades that we've seen the last few years has been very hit or miss. You get a Calais Campbell who gets traded and all of a sudden is in an infinitely better situation and is back to his old self. Or you get a Yannick Ngakoue who has been on 3 teams in the last 3 years, 2 years, and each one's been slightly more of a disaster than before. So which version of Robert Quinn are we going to see? I think Quinn's probably going to lean somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think he's going to be as good as Campbell, but I don't think he's going to be as bad as Ngakoue. But I do think that there's something about it.
I mean, fine. Listen, I don't hate it necessarily. I'm always a favor from the Eagles' perspective. We're completely not talking about the game at all. But he's been a streaky player. I don't hate the idea. I'm always in favor of if you have a chance to win a Super Bowl, try to win a Super Bowl. Like, the 4th round pick isn't helping you this year. This might be the year that you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. So I don't hate it from their perspective. I'm just trying to say, like, I think some people are acting like it was a fleecing getting a great player coming off of an amazing season for only a 4th round pick. But, he hasn't been playing good this year, so I understand why the trade happened.
Yeah. I guess the one thing would be like, so I think we still are waiting to see what this Cowboys offense is going to look like. And now Ezekiel Elliott's out for a few weeks, which, gives Pollard a chance, which I think a lot of Cowboys fans wanted to see Pollard as the number 1. Pollard now gets the chance to be the number 1. Can this Cowboys offense, kind of find its stride a little bit in this game? I think this Bears defense looked pretty good last week. Can they continue to have success against this Cowboys offense?
Did it look good, or did the Patriots offense look bad?
Well, it was both. I think the thing is so, like, Eddie Jackson's not as good as he was under Vic Fangio, but I think he's been pretty good this season. Outside of that touchdown where it was a blown coverage, Jacoby Myers was wide open. I think he's been pretty good this season. And then Brisker, as I think he's a rookie, right? He's been a stud this year. He's been really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, this Bears defense, like, again, EPA, they're 15th. They've been a mediocre defense, which is way better than we thought they'd be heading into the season. Defense, very tough to predict, but their defense has been better than expected. It hasn't been great. Again, mediocre, but, considering what we thought they would be, they've looked much better.
They look competent, at least. That's for sure. And I think the secondary is decent. So, like, I don't think it's a great secondary, but I think it's decent. And it starts with the way those safeties have played.
Yeah. Should be. Totally agree. For the Cowboys, though, you're right. I think that, try to get something going offensively, and then hopefully that your defense could still be okay. That's the pathway to. I could see an upset though with the Bears, but I think the Cowboys are clear favorites. I might like the Bears plus 9.5 though.
Yeah, it feels a little disrespectful after what they did Monday night, but they got to prove it again. We'll see if they can do it. I don't think this Bears offense is going to replicate what they did last week. I could see the defense having more success, but I don't think this offense is going to be able to move the ball.
It would be great, though, if Dak Prescott looks terrible. We get the quarterback controversy thing going again. That'd be fun.
Oh, boy. Because Cooper Rush was so good against the Eagles. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the Eagles, the team that now has Robert Quinn, who, listen, they don't need edge rushers anyways. Robert Quinn's their fourth best edge rusher right now. So, regardless of how good he plays, they're still looking good. 10.5-point favorites to in Kyle's opinion, the worst team in football, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the worst team to ever play football. In fact, it's Steelers team. The two teams that used to at one season merged and were the Steagles, I believe is what they were called, are now playing against each other.
Is this real?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was during a war or something. Like way back in the day, there was a lot of players that went off to war, if I remember this correctly, and so they merged and were the Steagles.
This sport is so stupid, man.
Really, you go back more than 50 years, none of it makes any sense.
All right. So, yeah. So they're obviously not merging this season, which would be a lot of Eagles players on that team. But,
right.
Yeah, the Eagles should steamroll this team because I don't think this is a very good run defense. I don't think they're going to have to challenge this secondary, which I think has surprised teams this year. And so I just think, the Eagles are going to put this team in a million read options, and I think the Steelers have no chance to defend it without TJ Watt there. So give me the Eagles by 1 million.
Yeah, the Eagles, the Steelers shouldn't be able to stop the Eagles. What did I say? The Steelers shouldn't be able to stop the Eagles too much, but the flip side is they also shouldn't be able to move the ball too much. So Steelers are in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough to move on this defense too. So Pickett's back in. He's going to have those crazy throws, and like I said, I think he wants to. I think they're going to want him to control the game a little bit more this week. I don't think that they can just cough the ball up to the Eagles and give them extra possession. So the one thing I do want to see is can they get George Pickens more involved? Because this guy looks incredible. Every time the ball's thrown to him, it feels like it's the most incredible catch I've seen of the week. Let's get him the ball more. That seems like a good idea.
Well, he's the weirdest guy because he doesn't really get separation, right? He's somehow never open and always open.
Yes. I'm not sure I get it either, but at the same time, he makes incredible catches. Maybe we've continued to see this the last few seasons though, where these guys come out who are just incredible catch radius, incredible in contested catch rating. Maybe he's just one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's doing great, and he does get some separation too. He's not like a pure one of those guys, but yeah, that's mostly how he's winning. I agree. Give him the ball, that's pretty much all their receivers are just good jump ball receivers. You don't get a ton of separation, so take some chances. But the flip side is taking some chances against Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Pickett's gonna, which I also have to say, this whole Kenny Pickett with the pick emphasis. Emphasizing the pick and Pickett for poor young Kenny. The guy's been middle of the pack in turnover-worthy plays. He's been very unlucky.
Listen, my favorite cliche. Peyton Manning once led the league in interceptions his rookie year.
Right. Incredible. I love every rookie that throws interceptions immediately brings that up.
Peyton Manning. So maybe this guy's the next Peyton Manning. Don't count it out just yet.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember how many times that was brought up when Jameis Winston was a Buccaneer.
It's the best line. It's so stupid.
Insinuating
anyone's going to be Peyton Manning.
Right. No, it's just the most baffling. I also like how when people will bring up the other thing they'll do is bring up Tom Brady's rookie season passer rating as if it's the same sport they play, 20 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously 2001 and 2022 are similar football, I got to say.
What's the best case scenario for the Steelers in this? For the Steelers in this one.
These receivers make some big time catches. They're able to stick around in this game and not get blown out in the second quarter, and have a chance to win at the end. We've seen this. This Eagles team is gonna. That video where the guy says, "The more you F around, the more you find out." One of these weeks, I think the Eagles are going to F around and find out, because it seems like that they don't want to put their foot to the throat a whole lot in the second half of these games. One of these teams is going to catch them and bite them in the butt. I just don't think it's going to be this week.
Would be a good strategy for the Steelers. Basically, run your 4-minute offense for the entirety of the second quarter. Make the second quarter go by as quick as possible, because that's where the Eagles do their damage. Get rid of the second quarter, and then you have a chance in quarters 1, 3, and 4.
Possibly, but they cannot run the ball. They
right,
can't.
That's the issue.
It's like Najee Harris gets the ball in the backfield, and there's 3 guys around him immediately. It seems like all the time.
Yeah. No, should be tough. I think the Eagles could end up pulling this one out. I think. I'll take the Eagle. Do you have the Eagles? Are you taking the Eagles plus, or excuse me, Eagles minus 10.5?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so as well. But again, the one thing I always throw out there is it's Mike Tomlin. Who knows? Like that's just the one. Like sometimes he just as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I know that all too well. Kyle, let him know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page. That's at on the sideline JK. That's at on the sideline JK.
Yes, of course. If you like audio only podcasts, anywhere you get your audio only feed, that should be available. So check that out. Kyle, who do you got? Phillies or Astros?
Um, the Astros, they've seen unstoppable this season. Justin Verlander is the ageless wonder. I
Mm-hmm.
think that guy has just been amazing. I think the Astros should win this one handily. That being said, Phillies have some magic right now. Bryce Harper is on another level, playing some of the best baseball of his career. I do think it's possible that they go win this one too.
As a Tampa Bay fan, it gives me a little bit of nightmares seeing the Phillies back in the World Series.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for poor 13-year-old Jackson had a hard time when the Rays lost to the Phillies in the World Series.
yeah, that's understandable. I don't know. Like this team, they can clearly hit the ball, but I still feel like eventually their issues with their bullpen and their starters beyond Aaron Nola is going to catch up to them, right?
I would think so. It feels like the Astros are like the perfectly built team. Like they're unbelievable. This team is and like everything you want to say about like the Phillies. Like, oh well, Bryce Harper, he's red hot. Like so is Yordan Alvarez, right? Like there's just like everything. The Phillies have good starting pitching. Like the Astros have good starting pitching, probably better. Like, but the one thing is like last year the Astros lost to the Braves. So who knows? It's baseball.
Yeah, I think the Astros have let a few guys go over the years, but every year it seems like there's a new guy. There's Jeremy
This Pena
Pena,
guy, right? They let lose. Yeah, unbelievable.
Pena, Alvarez. You got. I think it was a couple of years ago where Kyle Tucker came in. So it just seems like top to bottom, it's a really good roster.
Yeah. No, I agree. It should be fun. Starting on a Friday. Weird day to start it.
Yeah, they got a lot of time off because I guess the series ended early and they already had the schedule set up.
Baseball. I don't know what baseball does.
I don't know, but it is, and they do the stupid 2-3-2. That's the pathway to the Phillies winning this one, right? Is they steal a game in Houston and then get 3 straight home games because it's stupid, and then all of a sudden it's like they're up 3-2 going back to Houston, or they're up 3-1 at one point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's what always bothered me about, again, going back to Tampa Bay in that World Series is we went 1-1 at home, and then we lost 3 in Philadelphia. So we played more games in their home stadium than in our home stadium. But granted, we only got the home field advantage because the AL won the All-Star game. So I guess I couldn't complain too much.
Yeah, it's the dumbest setup still in baseball. If you're going to give home field advantage for it, make it fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, that's our show. Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
Looking forward to week 8. Basketball's rolling. That's been fun. Probably gonna go watch some Denver Nuggets beat up the Lakers, and then that's just about it.
Yeah, hockey season hasn't gone so well for the Lightning. I think we'll be okay, but can't complain. But it's been a tough start. I mean we're all right, but
Bruins are red hot, so that's good.
There you go. I kind of miss the Bruins being good.
6-1, we're good.
Ah, there you go. That's always fun. People. I like when interesting teams are good.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for Boston sports fans at some point, man.
Yes, absolutely. Kyle, it's starting to become less and less of a joke.
I know, but I'm gonna say probably till the day I die because I saw a bunch of championships. So
yeah, that's fair. Listen, I've already accepted. We're past the golden age of my. I guess both our teams we're past the golden age.
Didn't you just win a Stanley Cup like a couple years ago?
That's what I'm saying. I'm past the golden age. I just saw the golden age. We saw like the best part of what we're going to see.
I'm not writing off anybody just yet. Let's calm down.
What I don't get what you're saying. I'm saying my point is that I just saw like the greatest moment in my team's history.
Tampa Bay can still win the Stanley Cup this year.
Sure, I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying like there's a chance that we're still going to have another one, but this is probably going to be like the best part.
That's fair. Okay, I get you.
Yeah,
I'll accept it.
I mean, 3 championships in less than a year. I mean, doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, and it's only been that year that I've seen, so it was one really fun year. We're off the rails here. Kyle, I already asked you any final thoughts. I guess we're done.
All right, let's get out of here then.
All right. Again, thanks to everybody. We do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.